All right, greetings everybody and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking a test run of Kadaj in a rather unfair and well, it's just not a super fair setup today. And that's the way it is. Sometimes in life you just don't get quite what you're looking for. I have already basically decided what I want to say about Kadaj. Uh, Before we get too far into this video, it should be noted, as of the time of the recording, Kadaj's data is not up on Wotv, which means that I don't have any specific numbers for a lot of his abilities, but I don't think it really matters. We've already covered essentially what most of all of his abilities do in the previous video, so I'm quite fine with that. And I do want to take a touch on what some of the websites are earlier rating him as, starting off with Altima, who has put him at a 9.7, which is slightly lower than Cloud and slightly lower than Tifa. Not a ton, but it is looking like he will be slightly lower on the evaluation. In terms of the vision card, though, interestingly, the vision card is rated slightly higher than normal at 9.8, which isn't really overly important as it doesn't relate to Kadaj. But that is another thing to remember. Kadaj didn't get his VC, more than likely because the VC that's coming shortly after Sephiroth will be the Katana VC that'll probably be very strong. So Kadaj's evaluation there is a little bit, at least for now, feels a little bit held back in general in terms of Game 8. Game 8 has rated him so far as a double S in terms 9.8 on the comprehensive evaluation chart, which puts him into the triple S category. And if at all possible, really quickly, I didn't think I was going to do this in the middle of the video, but I guess I'm doing it now. Which is, I am just going to bring this up from game 8. That's not game 8 number. There we go. As you can see, the roster here has been updated. So what is considered to be tier 0 or the highest tier is AC Cloud, Ash King Mont, and Spring Juice. Oh, sorry, Spring June. Just change that back to Japanese quickly. And triple S tier now is where Kadaj, AC Tifa, Helena, Bridal Alaya, King Bradley, and Soul. Now, regardless how you feel, that's basically their evaluation of this character. And so far, Kadaj is sitting very much with Tifa at Triple S. And that kind of brings me into the next part of the video that I want to talk about. I generally agree with that. Before even testing, it's pretty apparent to me that Kadaj, while experiencing the benefits of the recent power jump, our 90 cost character is very impressive, but is lacking behind Cloud for certain in terms of his ability. So, hey, guess what? That's canon, right? Kadaj didn't beat AC Cloud in the movie. Spoilers. And here he is not going to beat AC Cloud either. But that's not necessarily like a huge knot against him. But it does once again paint the picture that the AC characters so far have been a fairly big step behind Joom and Ashen Mont. They are the gold, platinum, diamond standard, if you will, just for how good they are and above. And yes, I do put AC Cloud below both of these characters because, well, case. As for Kadaj, Kadaj is a pretty durable 90 cost character. Taking a look at this setup really quickly, 121 speed and about 12k HP with 1600 attack, as opposed to Joom at 117, 14k HP and 19.5 attack. You can see that there's still a fairly big gap here, and at 30 and 33% resistance with 39 defense. Yeah, Joom just kind of wins out on the average. I also want to pay special attention, even though I mentioned this in the previous video, about Kadaj's weapon, which for the most part, while being generally offensive version, has a lot of defensive abilities. Initial AP is always just a generally nice thing, but elemental chain weakness and defense kind of are going to be a detriment to this character's offensive ability, whatever we see them to be in this video. I do think that equipping different katanas is probably going to be overall better for him, but yes, enough about that. Take off auto to make sure that we're doing it correctly, and we'll also just adjust our speed down to 1.5 in case we want to watch any animations. Let's go. So for the sake of this testing video, what I really wanted to do was I didn't want to alter too much for what I've been testing, how I've been testing recently with my more defensive water team that I've built, but I also do want to bring into what is, I think, really, really important here, which is taking a look at two of the by far strongest characters in the game who have been essentially everywhere and making it really difficult for new characters to kind of get in and feel like they are doing too terribly much. Uh, it is to say one thing for certain that when you look at characters that we are seeing enter the game, they are strong, but Joom and Ashen Mont, especially Ashen Mont for global viewers curious, is still kind of a really big gold standard for characters. So don't have to worry too much about feeling bad. If you think that he's going to be slightly outdated by the time he gets there, I'm willing to bet no. All right, so what I want to test here, first off, is this ability. It gives elemental chain resistance, re-raise, and a bunch of stuff. So before we do that, taking a look at Kadaj, his elemental resistances are currently this. We cast this ability. And now, when we regain control, we take a look at Kadaj, and we can see that it is a fairly big boost for Kadaj, too, in terms of the elemental resistance that he can get across the board. It's actually quite impressive. It does mean that he will be good against multiple elemental teams. Trying to get through this character in terms of DPS for certain options, even Thunder doesn't look too terribly great. Could mean that Kadaj is a pretty nice specialty in the way Joom is, where Joom can power up a bunch of different elements. This character can just resist a bunch of different elements. What I do think is, and we will see here, is that his general damage resistances aren't really impressive for what are the strongest characters. But I digress. Let's get everybody's favorite character, Ashen Mont. Start him off, getting him ready. And now as for our water-based characters, they're going to start casting all of their abilities and making sure that they are ready for what is to come. Not the ability I wanted, not the ability I wanted. That one, where is it? General relaxing music today, which is quite nice. I always do love this kind of music from Metroid Prime. So excellent. Great. And as for Captain Ferris here, want to get this barrier up. So we're generally pretty good on our defensive capabilities. We've gotten all of our barriers. So now we have Kadaj here. Now Kadaj hasn't cast his secondary ability yet, but we can take a peek at the type of damage that he is doing. This is pretty interesting in terms of a result. But keep in mind that Ashen Mont doesn't have too terribly many vision cards posted on him. Taking a look at another DPS option, this is much more revealing of essentially how this character is in terms of DPS against a very, very strong defense. And kind of the problem to his kit, which is, fairly offensive, but also quite defensive in what he is doing. So we look here at the type of damage we're doing. It's okay, but it doesn't seem overly impressive. You would kind of be seeing more than this from other very, very strong characters. So next thing we want to try, we do want to try some of his sub jobs, such as, oh, that one, sorry, wrong one. Berserk, which has, as you kind of expect, a very, very low chance, not rocking an incredibly high faith with very little reason to, unlike Tifa, who has a, fairly good base chance, causing frostbite, you can see that it is the opposite with Kadaj. So his Berserk status effect is probably pretty easy to forego at this. And yeah, his damage, while being generally pretty good, is not anything kind of amazing, but we'll also see the reverse here in terms of defense in a second. But we want to go up here and we want to cast this ability. Now, this is one that I'm interested in because of the human resistance as well as the human killer. It does give a few other bonuses, but let us cast that. And something else that's pretty interesting here, we can actually run Ashen Mont, who is kind of getting a little bit of a benefit. Ashen Mont does stack a ton of Human Killer, and as you can see, Ashen Mont's Limp Burst here was always generally quite strong, but it might be one of the things that of where Kadaj could actually fit into with other strong characters, of giving them an offensive boost while he is just essentially more defensive. Maybe he can take a few hits if you put the producer's bow on him. Maybe that is a alternate method for him to potentially be kind of a bit more of a tank-like character. But anyway, I digress. Let's head back over here. And now we'll just take a quick look, see if we are potentially doing not too terribly much more damage, a little bit more when you have kind of a high advantage versus character, but this type of damage you are not going to see too terribly much in most cases. So taking a look. His ability does help, but as you can see, with the actual barriers that some characters can put up, that is problematic for him. So let's go here. Like you. Well, and we'll pick up an item. And just to fire off Mont's ability against him, not terrible. I mean, you look at how much damage he can do against other characters, and he is, as I said, pretty damage resilient. Oh, pretty interesting. All right. Just go ahead a little bit, and one of the last things that we definitely want to do is show off that limit burst animation. And we'll basically kind of call this quits, at least for now, because Kadaj is a really hard character to evaluate. Cloud last week and even kind of Tifa were very easy to see their beneficial hits, like with everything essentially, since Vision cards came out at roughly the same time, and it looked pretty good across the board for those characters. Now with Kadaj, it does feel a little bit like he himself has a lot of potential utility with a good amount of resistance to potentially be quite a durable fighter. It kind of is maybe just that we are missing a secondary character to go with him to really push offensive capabilities. He could be absolutely dynamite in terms of better equipment and whatnot. For now, I feel pretty reluctant to recommend him too terribly much because, again, it just feels so incomplete. His weapon is going one direction, or his kit is going in another. So much of his kit was kind of looked to be just DPS, and he only has two essential support abilities. Doesn't feel amazing. And with all of that being said, it's still he is a post Ashenmont June, which means that he's quite a great little 90 coster. And if you were to match him up against most other 90 cost units, guess what? They're going to fail quite spectacularly. His kit has a lot of stuff in it. I like it a lot, but I'm just personally not quite convinced yet. I want to see more matches with him against high tier characters in different team comps to figure out where he is best. And that will kind of just determine whether or not he's actually worth spending the resource to get him. But I will say that hopefully by the end of next week, we'll have a really, really clear definition to give you guys about whether or not worth it. Poor little remnant. Yeah, always doomed to be worse than Cloud. But it's canon. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. And yeah, if you think you'd like to see a slightly different matchup with him or anything in specific, please leave it in the comments below. I'll try and take a look at it if I can find time. Make the video. Thanks so much for watching. Later.